I'm SEO Joe Blogs, and I'll be talking to you about the different aspects of on-page SEO. So SEO, as I like to call it, actually, it's the simple, easy option. I'm a freelance consultant, and I always think that, and I always advocate that SEO should be done before actually even building your website. So we have seen the growth of the internet explode. Obviously, Julia went through that about Google, and these are just a few stats from a couple of years ago. But as Julia had mentioned in the previous video, we've seen a massive increase in e-commerce just in the past year, and that was because of the pandemic that we've all been witness to. So in terms of this video here, I'm going to talk to you about what type of results you will get and how you can affect those results. So I think everyone knows how a search engine works. Julie went through a lot of detail on that. And what I'm going to show you is how our trends and what's happening around us does also affect what we're getting in terms of search results. So here I'll do a search for remote working jobs and see what results we're going to get. So this is actually 1 billion results. Over 1 billion results we have now got because of the term remote working jobs. And as Vanny's showing, yes, you can see that there. Under each search query, you can see how much. And this is the search engine result pages. You can see four different websites. And then, like Julie mentioned, you also see this people also ask. That's quite a new one. That didn't obviously happen as soon as Larry Page, as soon as Google was launched. It's been developed, and there's lots more of these type of snippets that are appearing in the search engine results. So why should you do SEO? Well, if you are the top position in the search engine, it's actually, you get more than 25% of clicks. That was actually a stat I took from Search Engine Journal. They do a lot of data analysis. You can also look at backlinko.com. They have a lot of statistics too. But really, SEO, as I mentioned, is the simple, easy option. It's about getting your website as visible to as many people as possible. Here you can see that I'm looking again for remote working jobs. You see the title tag, working nomads, remote jobs. And then below that is the meta description, or description as some people call it. And what it is, it's a call to action. It's just a snippet about what this page is about to try and encourage people to click through. So, remote jobs for digital working nomads, start your telecommuting career and work remotely from home or place around the world. And it's really important that you have a call to action to get people to click through. So in terms of SEO, simple, easy option, you have on page and you have off page. You also have technical, which can sometimes fall within the on page. I'm going to look at some of the on-page aspects, and Sophie's going to be looking to you about some of the off-page, and Julie will come back on and talk to you about some of the technical. In terms of the on-page SEO, what is it? Well, it's everything to do with your content. So that is your meta title that we just touched on, your meta description. You obviously have to make sure that you've done your keyword research so that you can create great copy, both in the title tag, description, and of course on the page itself. It's about making sure that the page is accessible to all. So you need to make sure that you've got your internal linking, and you have to have also a good website architecture. Sophie will cover this in more detail. So in terms of keyword research, we'll just take one about chocolate candy. So you all see, type in your search query, you get a lot of different search results. You will also get different synonyms as well. So recipes, it's about cooking, baking. So you should also get different results around different types of chocolate. So chocolate clusters, truffles, and so on. This is more around semantic keyword research, which we'll touch on as well. So before, as Julia said, if you had a page worth of keywords, let's go back to chocolate cookies. If you had chocolate cookies X amount of times on your page, you would easily rank. But actually, that's not the case now. It's really about having great content and having semantics. So if we take this example of the light bulb, when you're changing a light bulb, you might be replacing it. You might also replacing your light fittings. You could also be doing renovation of maybe your lighting system. So really it's about not looking at just the one key term, it's looking at about the semantics and also about the topics of your terms. So when I mention about topics, it's about this is the way you organize your keyword research. So I just gave the example about remote working. So remote working jobs. So that's your main topic. And then underneath that, you would have, maybe remote working online marketing jobs. That's your subtopic. And then within that, you talk about email marketing jobs, affiliate marketing jobs, SEO jobs. And what you need to do is use different tools that we have in the marketplace to help you come up with these related terms. So back to the semantics. And then you can then make sure that you write the content to address these different terms on each page. You also need to remember around trends. So again, Julia touched upon this earlier, but remember what's going on around you. This is from Google Trends, and it's for the term remote working jobs. Now, as you can see, for the past, I did it for 3 years, you saw there wasn't very much search volume for remote working jobs, but really, as we saw in March last year, 2020, we saw a big increase and big peak. And actually, we still continue to see a lot of interest around remote working jobs just because of what obviously is going on in the world today, the fact that we are working from home a lot more than before. So when you're looking for your keywords, make sure that you're also thinking about those big topics first. Look at, if there's anything happening in the marketplace, so check Google Trends, and then use a tool of your choice to then find out, to get more research. So find out the search volume. What is the opportunity there? Look and see what the competitors are doing as well. And also think about user intent. So what stage are you in the purchase journey, or your customers? So there's different types of user intent. You could have customers that are actually looking ready to buy. So the transactional intent, they want something. So you need to make sure that your site, your page is optimized for that. It might be more around transactional keywords like buy summer shoes, instead of looking at informational intent, where people are at the beginning of their customer journey, their purchase journey. They may be just looking to do research around different summer shoes, different sandals to buy for summer. So looking at this, I've just done a screen grab here actually of one tool that I was using to find out the research. So this was a company, I looked at the 3 different areas, as I said, the search volume, the competition, and also the user intent. So this is again for the term remote working jobs. So if you look at the remote working jobs, we have 6,600. This is per month. We also have to see what the competition is. And the SERP features, that actually does help you to be able to understand what type of intent it is. Now, there are other tools that also go into, and they tell you if it's a transactional type of term or it's an informational term, but we don't have enough time to go into that today. And the next, just on the other one, I was just showing you that that's remoters.net. So that's a site that has a lot of remote working jobs, and it's all about working digital nomads and working remotely. So I mentioned before, you need to look at your topics. So think about this. You can, of course, brainstorm with other colleagues or friends to find out what are the different terms you should be looking at. I do recommend to also ask others. Maybe you could ask customers if this is a new product launch. And then you should also use the tools to find out if there is a search volume for that. I do strongly recommend using tools like Google Trends, and also another one is called Answer the Public, and that's you can find out what people are asking. And if you can provide the answer, then you'll have a higher probability of people coming to your site. So it's really important that you structure your content accordingly. Sophie will go into more detail about the website architecture, but in terms of your pages, you really need to make sure that you have, I would say, an informational page. So it could be a blog, you're talking about some of the new products that you have launched. And then also you have pages addressed for the transactional intent. So this is more about perhaps your purchases, your purchase pages. So you want to make sure that you've optimized your pages accordingly. You have the content there so that people, when they're searching for, as I mentioned, looking for summer shoes or different sandals, that they can actually go and find the information. And then you actually have that linked, maybe from your blog, to the actual product page so they can go and purchase it. So it's really important to have good call to actions. Now, just going into more detail about the user intent, I won't read through all this, but you'll have the slide later. So I'm also a growth marketer at Authoritas, and we outlined 4 different types of user intent. So navigational, informational, as I mentioned, research, and transactional. So it's really important that when you're doing your research for the keywords, you look at kind of these different areas of user intent. And going to one example of a product page, I really like this one, actually, Luna Sandals. So this is a well-optimized page in terms of content for Luna Sandals. So you can see at the bottom, where you can see actually they have the image, they have lots of different versions of the image. You can see different areas. You've got the price. You actually can see the reviews very easily to click through and see the reviews as well. You have a video. And you also have a lot of information at the bottom about this sandal. So you can see that they haven't put the term like sandal in 5 times. They've used the words like footwear. They've used, the fact that it's a winged design sandal. So really giving the support for the user. So this is a good example of having an optimized product page for an e-commerce site. And thank you very much. That's all I have. And I'm going to pass over to Sophie, who's going to talk to you about website architecture and some other elements. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm on Twitter, SEO Joe Blogs.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Sophie, and I typically focus on the technical side of SEO. So this includes stuff like website architecture, which is how a website is structured in order to make it both accessible to people and so it makes sense to users as to what section they need to be in to be able to find information on the topic that they're looking for. So obviously the goal of making sure that your website architecture is really good is to help users on that journey to be able to either find the information that they're looking for, make a purchase, or go deeper into a subject that they were looking into. So for example, if say your website is all about marbles, you would perhaps have a main page talking about all about this. And then underneath that, maybe if you offer different coloured versions, you would have group stuff into colours. So here's all about green marbles, here's all about red marbles, here are all about yellow marbles, and make sure that everything that is linked off of those pages kind of improves or further deepens the interest into that specific area. So it makes it easy to follow, it's logical, it's where people would expect to find the information. And that's both good for users, and it's also good for making sure that when Google spiders come across your web page, that it too is able to follow the context of your website to ensure that when it serves a page to users, it knows that, well, if this page, which is linked to from the green marble section, we can be pretty certain that all the information involved is only on that subject. So we're not going to show you information on yellow marbles because it's not what you're looking for if you're, specifically using those kind of search terms. Now, obviously, you can replace marbles with anything. The main topic could be clothing, and maybe you want to talk about different types of clothing. So, tops, bottoms, footwear, and then you can go into more specifics down on underneath each silo or section. Next, please. So the way that we make it so it's easy to understand and that the main information is on the page, we need to look at optimizing both the content and the underlying architecture of the page. So what we do is look at the title of the page. So as you shown earlier, when you had that top line, which gave you the title of the page, making sure that that's visible, the descriptions, and also with the other items on the page, how the page is structured. So does it have headings? Does it break down the content into various sections? Is Google able to run through the page? Can it get to all of the code underneath the page to be able to understand the information, to then take it back to the servers and then index it? And it also takes into account stuff like the mobile friendliness of a page, because the vast majority of searches are now on mobile. So if someone is searching and it's not easy to navigate on mobile, or it takes too long to load, then that's a big negative for the vast majority of users. So being able to prove that a website is easy to use on mobile is also important. So one way to look at content on page is the image optimization. So this is slightly more technical. It's not just what the image is, but does it have the, obviously Google can't really understand what an image is. You've got to be able to provide keywords and extra layer of information underneath that image to be able to, for Google to be able to understand what the image is. So we do this through alt text or alternative text. So if you've got a page reader, for example, if you've got an accessibility need to be able to, if you can't see pictures, instead a reader will pull off the informational alternative text to tell the person searching what the picture is of. So being able to do that is good for Google to understand what your images are, and for people who are using accessibility with accessibility needs, using page readers, for example. So you know that the image that's on the page is actually an on-page SEO chart. So you want to make sure that that the image is described, but for humans, not just search engines, because it's real users that will be going on the page trying to understand what the content is. So it's always important to remember that. But stuff like what the file is called, the description of it, how big the image is, not just because large images take up a lot of room, but the bigger the image, the bigger the file size and the longer it takes to download. And you want a website to be able to load quickly. So if it's too image heavy, then you will run into loading problems. So making sure that the images are optimized in terms of that, and that it's not too big, and that the file size isn't enormous and will take ages to download.